Hi, welcome to our brand new Microsoft Azure Administrator AZ104 Practice Questions 2022. In this video, we are going to discuss all the dummy questions of the Microsoft AZ104 exam. So, let's get started. You have a general purpose V1 Azure storage account named Storage 1 that uses locally redundant storage LRS. You need to ensure that the data in the storage account is protected if a zone fails. The solution must minimize cost and administrative effort. What should you do first? Here are the options. Option 1. Create a new storage account. Option 2. Configure object replication rules. Option 3. Upgrade the account to general purpose V2. Option 4. Modify the replication setting of storage 1. And the correct answer is option 3. Upgrade the account to general purpose V2. Explanation. Upgrade the account to general purpose V2 is correct, as general purpose V1 doesn't support the ZRS redundancy model. Create a new storage account is incorrect, as we don't need to create a new storage account. Instead, we can upgrade the existing account to general purpose V2. Configure object replication rules is incorrect, as you only need to upgrade the account to V2 using Portal, PowerShell or CLI. Modify the replication setting of storage 1 is incorrect, as we cannot directly change the replication rule to ZRS for a V1 type of storage account. Next question. You have web apps in the West US, Central US and East US Azure regions. You have the app service plans shown in the following table. You plan to create an additional app service plan named ASP5 that will use the Linux operating system. You need to identify in which of the currently used locations you can deploy ASP5. What should you recommend? Now, here are the options. Option 1, East US only. Option 2, Central US only. Option 3, West US only. Option 4, West US, Central US or East US. And the right answer is option 4, West US, Central US or East US. Explanation. West US, Central US or East US is the correct option because there is no limit on the number of app service plans of premium tier in a single region. You can deploy 100 app service plans in a single resource group, which is kind of a limit, but on the scope of a resource group. For free tier app service plans, there is a limit of 10 app service plans in a single region though. East US only, Central US only, and West US only are the incorrect options, as there is no limit on the number of premium app service plans in region. Next question. You have an Azure subscription that contains the resources in the following table. LB1 is configured as shown in the following exhibit. You plan to create new inbound NAT rules that meet the following requirements. Provide remote desktop access to VM1 from the internet by using port 3389. Provide remote desktop access to VM2 from the internet by using port 3389. What should you create on LB1 before you can create the new inbound NAT rules? Now, here are the options. Option 1, a load balancing rule. Option 2, a front-end IP address. Option 3, a health probe. And the right answer is option 2, a front-end IP address. Explanation. A front-end IP address is correct, as we need to connect to two different VMs on the same port, and that cannot be done using a single IP address. Hence, we need additional IP addresses at the front end to forward the traffic on the 3389 port of both the machines simultaneously. A load balancing role is incorrect, as we don't need to load balance the RDP request between the two machines. We simply need to forward the traffic to both machines simultaneously on port 3389. A health probe is incorrect, as it is basically used to check for the stability of the connection to the backend machines while distributing the load between them. Here in this case, we don't actually need that. Hence, it cannot be used. Next question. You have an Azure subscription that uses the public IP addresses shown in the following table. You need to create a public Azure standard load balancer. Which public IP addresses can you use? Now, here are the options. Option 1, IP2 only. Option 2, IP1, IP2, and IP3. Option 3, IP3 only. Option 4, IP1 and IP3 only. And the correct answer is option 3, IP3 only. Explanation. IP3 only is correct, as standard load balancer can only have static IPv6 addresses of standard SKU attached to it. Basic load balancers, on the other hand, can connect only with dynamic IPv6 IPs and basic SKUs. Next question. You deploy an Azure Kubernetes Service AKS cluster named Cluster 1 that uses the IP addresses shown in the following table. You need to provide internet users with access to the applications that run in Cluster 1. Which IP address should you include in the DNS record for Cluster 1? Now, here are the options. Option 1, 131.107.2.1. Option 2, 10.0.10.11. Option 3, 172.17.7.1. Option 4, 192.168.10.2. And the right answer is option 1, 131.107.2.1. Explanation. To be able to access applications on Kubernetes, you need an application load balancer created by Azure which have public IP. Next question. You have a deployment template named template 1 that is used to deploy 10 Azure web apps. You need to identify what to deploy before you deploy template 1. The solution must minimize Azure cost. What should you identify? Now, here are the options. Option 1, 5 Azure application gateways. Option 2, 1 app service plan. Option 3, 10 app service plans. Option 4, 1 Azure traffic manager. Option 5, 1 Azure application gateway. And the right answer is option 2, 1 app service plan. Next question. You have an app named App 1 that runs on an Azure web app named Web App 1. The developers at your company upload an update of App 1 to a Git repository named Git1. Web App 1 has the deployment slots shown in the following table. You need to ensure that the App 1 update is tested before the update is made available to users. Which two actions should you perform? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Note, Each correct selection is worth 1 point. Now, here are the options. Option 1, swap the slots. Option 2, deploy the App 1 update to Web App 1 prod and then test the update. Option 3, stop Web App 1 prod. Option 4, deploy the App 1 update to Web App 1 test and then test the update. Option 5, stop Web App 1 test. And the right answer is option 1 and 4. Swap the slots and deploy the App 1, update to Web App 1 test, and then test the update. Explanation. Deploy the app to Web App 1 test, which is staging environment and test is there. Once the test is success, swap the slots so the new changes will be available under production. Next question. You have a pay-as-you-go Azure subscription that contains the virtual machines shown in the following table. You create the budget shown in the following exhibit. The AG1 action group contains a user named admin@contoso.com only. Use the drop-down menus to select the answer choice that completes each statement based on the information presented in the graphic. Now, here are the options. VM1 and VM2 are turned off. No email notifications will be sent each month. Option 2, VM1 and VM2 continue to run. One email notification will be sent each month. Option 3, VM1 is turned off and VM2 continue to run. 2 email notifications will be sent each month. Option 4, VM1 and VM2 continue to run. 2 email notifications will be sent each month. And the right answer is option 2. VM1 and VM2 continue to run. 1 email notification will be sent each month. Explanation. Box 1. VM1 and VM2 continue to run. The budget scope is RG1, so only VM1 will be handled. When the budget thresholds you have created are exceeded, only notifications are triggered. To stop resources, you need to set up additional things, none of which are mentioned in the question. Box 2. 1 email notification will be sent each month. Budget alerts have scope in resource group RG1, which includes VM1 but not VM2. VM1 consumes 20 euros each day. So 20 euros is to 30 days is equal to 600 euros. The 50% 500 euro limit will be reached in 25 days. 25 is to 20 is equal to 500. So an email will be sent. The 70% and 100% alert conditions will not be reached within a month, and they don't trigger email actions anywhere because AG1 action group contains a user. Credit alerts. Credit alerts are generated automatically at 90% and at 100% of your Azure credit balance. Whenever an alert is generated, it's reflected in cost alerts and in the email sent to the account owners. 90% and 100% will not be reached though. Next question. You have an Azure subscription named Subscription 1. Subscription 1 contains a resource group named RG1. RG1 contains resources that were deployed by using templates. You need to view the date and time when the resources were created in RG1. Solution. From the subscriptions blade, you select the subscription and then click Programming Deployment. Does this meet the goal? Now, here are the options. Option 1, yes. Option 2, no. And the right answer is option 2, no. Explanation. From the RG1 blade, click Deployments. You see a history of deployment for the resource group. Next question. You have an Azure subscription that contains the resources shown in the following table. VM1 connects to VNET1. You need to connect VM1 to VNET2. Solution. You create a new network interface and then you add the network interface to VM1. Does this meet the goal? Now here are the options. Option 1, yes. Option 2, no. And the right answer is option 2, no. Explanation. You should delete VM1. You recreate VM1 and then you add the network interface for VM1. Note. When you create an Azure Virtual Machine VM, you must create a virtual network VNet or use an existing VNet. You can change the subnet a VM is connected to after it's created, but you cannot change the VNet. Next question. You have an Azure Active Directory, Azure AD, tenant named adatum.com that contains the users shown in the following table. Adatum.com has the following configurations. Users may join devices to Azure AD is set to user 1. Additional local administrators on Azure AD joined devices is set to none. You deploy Windows 10 to a computer named Computer 1. User 1 joins Computer 1 to adatum.com. You need to identify the local administrator group membership on Computer 1. Which users are members of the local administrators group. Now, here are the options. Option 1, user 1 only. Option 2, user 2 only. Option 3, user 1 and user 2 only. Option 4, user 1, user 2 and user 3 only. Option 5, user 1, user 2, user 3 and user 4. And the right answer is option 3. User 1 and user 2 only. Explanation. Users may join devices to Azure AD. This setting enables you to select the users who can register their devices as Azure AD joined devices. The default is all. Additional local administrators on Azure AD joined devices. You can select the users that are granted local administrator rights on a device. Users added here are added to the device administrator's role in the Azure AD. Global administrators here, user 2 in Azure AD and device owners are granted local administrator rights by default. Next question. You have an Azure subscription named Subscription 1 that contains the resources shown in the following table. You create virtual machines in the Subscription 1 as shown in the following table. You plan to use Vault 1 for the backup of as many virtual machines as possible. Which virtual machines can be backed up to Vault 1? Now, here are the options. Option 1, VM1 only. Option 2, VM3 and VMC only. Option 3, VM1, VM2, VM3, VMA, VMB and VMC. Option 4, VM1, VM3, VMA and VMC only. Option 5, VM1 and VM3 only. And the right answer is option 4, VM1, VM3, VMA and VMC only. Explanation. To create a vault to protect virtual machines, the vault must be in the same region as the virtual machines. If you have virtual machines in several regions, create a recovery service vault in each region. Next question. You have an Azure subscription that contains the resources shown in the following table. You need to configure a proximity placement group for VMSS1. Which proximity placement groups should you use? Now, here are the options. Option 1, proximity 2 only. Option 2, proximity 1, proximity 2 and proximity 3. Option 3, proximity 1 only. Option 4, proximity 1 and proximity 3 only. And the right answer is option 1, proximity 2 only. Explanation. Resource group location of VMSS1 is the RG2 location, which is West US. Only proximity 2, which also in RG2 is location and West US. Next question. You have an Azure subscription named Subscription 1. Subscription 1 contains a resource group named RG1. RG1 contains resources that were deployed by using templates. You need to view the date and time when the resources were created in RG1. Solution. From the subscriptions blade, you select the subscription and then click Resource Providers. Does this meet the goal? Now, here are the options. Option 1, yes. Option 2, no. And the right answer is option 2, no. Next question. You have an Azure subscription that contains a virtual machine named VM1. VM1 hosts a line of business application that is available 24 hours a day. VM1 has one network interface and one managed disk. VM1 uses the D4S V3 size. You plan to make the following changes to VM1. Change the size to D8S V3. Add a 500 GB managed disk. Add the Puppet Agent extension. Enable desired state configuration management, which change will cause downtime for VM1. Now, here are the options. Option 1, enable desired state configuration management. Option 2, add a 500 GB managed disk. Option 3, change the size to D8S V3. Option 4, add the Puppet Agent extension. And the right answer is option 3, change the size to D8S V3. Thank you for watching this video. Please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Buy our AZ104 premium questions with 50% off. Check link in the description.